It's all covered in today's China Truths.
Floods are swallowing China, not just the land, but the lies it's built upon. What's drowning isn't only villages, crops, and roads. It's the myth of safety, the illusion of progress, and decades of cover-ups hidden behind polished propaganda. In province after province, Hunan, Hubei, Guizhou, Sichuan, disaster strikes with terrifying precision. Torrents of water breach brittle dams built generations ago, crashing through communities like a truth long suppressed. Families scramble to rooftops. Entire neighborhoods vanish overnight. Roads, gone. Bridges, washed away. Lifelines snapped like twigs. And it was all avoidable. Buried deep in China's forgotten archives are warnings. Ignored expert reports, risk assessments shelved in favor of GDP goals. Over 90,000 dams, many constructed during the chaos of the Great Leap Forward with shoddy materials and political pressure, now stand like tombstones of a failed system. They've held out for decades. Until now. What's collapsing isn't just infrastructure. It's trust. It's a nation's fragile faith in its own protection. In Yueyang, a shop owner sobbed as her store vanished under muddy waves. 20 years of hard work, gone in one night. We still owe 330,000 yuan. No one is coming to help. In Ximen, an entire harvest was wiped out. In Sangji, a new store drowned the day it opened. We lost everything in hours, the owner said, and now no one answers our calls. Behind these voices lies a brutal pattern, disaster relief that arrives late, or not at all, walls that collapse under pressure, and fake steel from Chinese suppliers making headlines abroad while the same rot eats away at home. Officials point to billion-yuan flood defense projects. On the ground, streets turned into rivers, cities into swamps. Over 420,000 people affected, 110,000 displaced, and countless others abandoned by a system that prioritized speed over safety, image over integrity. And this is just the beginning. For decades, China tried to conquer nature with concrete, but nature remembers, and now it's collecting the debt. Ancient town engulfed, China's Tofu Dreg dams collapse. Amid relentless floods, homes reduced to rubble, bridges snapped like twigs. What was once the serene Fubao ancient town in Lushou, Sichuan, is now a drowned relic, submerged under thick, churning floodwaters. In recent days, relentless rains have battered mainland China, triggering widespread floods across multiple provinces. But few were hit as hard as Fubao. Overnight, this historic riverside town vanished beneath muddy torrents. Drone footage captures rooftops barely peeking above water, entire streets swallowed, and debris swirling in brown, violent currents. The disaster didn't come with sirens, only silence. Residents said the flood came in the dead of night, without warning. A once-in-a-century flood submerged my home in just minutes, one survivor wrote online. By morning, the town had turned into a vast, lifeless lake. Thousands of aging dams across the region, many built decades ago with poor materials, were pushed past their breaking point. Under the weight of rising waters, Tofu Dreg dams crumbled like cardboard, unleashing uncontrolled floods onto unsuspecting towns. What unfolded in Fubao wasn't just a natural disaster, it was a man-made failure, decades in the making, now exposed by a single night of rain. Why is China still drowning? The answer runs deeper than water. Every summer, the scenes repeat like a nightmare. Towns underwater, families stranded on rooftops, children swept away by unseen currents. And every year, the same haunting question echoes across social media and disaster zones alike. How can a country with nearly 100,000 dams still be flooded into chaos? The answer lies not just in broken concrete, but in broken decisions made decades ago. Between the 1950s and 1970s, during Mao's frantic race to industrialize, China threw up tens of thousands of dams, fast, cheap, and fatally flawed. Under the banner of the Great Leap Forward, speed mattered more than science. Political loyalty trumped engineering. Untrained workers poured concrete without blueprints. Safety checks non-existent. The result? A nation blanketed with what are now called Tofu Dreg dams, structures as unstable as the system that created them. Warnings were there from the beginning. Visionary hydrologists like Chen Xing tried to sound the alarm in Henan. They were silenced. The cost? From 1954 to 2021, over 3,800 dams collapsed, a disaster nearly every week for 70 years. But history didn't just repeat itself, it was hidden. The 1975 Banqiao Dam catastrophe, triggered by typhoons and compounded by silence, killed over 230,000 people, one of the worst dam failures in human history. Yet for 30 years, China buried the truth to protect its image. It wasn't until 2000 that the world learned the full scale of what had happened, not from Beijing, but from survivors and foreign researchers. Fast forward to today, and the cracks are wider than ever, not just in concrete, but in public trust. In 2020, torrential rains battered Zhuozhou and Hebei province. In a calculated move, authorities flooded the entire city to protect Beijing, the capital. No evacuation, no warning, just water. Locals returned to ruins and asked, why must the countryside drown to keep the capital dry? Meanwhile, even China's crown jewel, the Three Gorges Dam, faces doubt. Billed as the ultimate flood defense, it failed to prevent mass flooding in 2020 that affected 54 million people. Officials insisted it worked as intended. But for villagers watching their homes sink beneath muddy rivers, words meant little. The system, it seems, has learned little. Today, over 3,800 dams are at critical risk of collapse, many already past their intended lifespan. Over 33,000 haven't even had basic safety inspections. And the few that do get maintenance often suffer from corruption, falsified reports, or delayed repairs. When floodwaters rise, the government's instinct isn't always to help, but to hide. After the 2008 Sichuan earthquake, billions in donations vanished into bureaucracy. Survivors waited in tents while aid spoiled in warehouses. The Red Cross of China became a symbol not of hope, but betrayal. No wonder many Chinese citizens have stopped waiting for help. Volunteers now carry supplies themselves, wading into flood zones with food and medicine. We don't trust anyone anymore, one man said. If we don't act, no one will. This isn't just a climate crisis. It's a reckoning with history, with hubris, and with a regime that built more walls than it ever repaired. China's flooding tragedy isn't just about rain. It's about the weight of forgotten warnings, aging infrastructure, and a system that too often protects power over people. And as storms grow fiercer, the question is no longer when the next disaster will strike, but how many more lives will be sacrificed to preserve the lie of control. Even the first city of manufacturing can't hold on. Suzhou's housing market has fallen dramatically. Suzhou, Jiangsu province, is known as China's first manufacturing city, where a large number of foreign-funded high-end manufacturing companies are gathered. However, with the withdrawal of a large number of foreign companies, the local economy has suffered a heavy blow, and housing prices have fallen precipitously. According to statistics from the Suzhou Municipal Bureau of Statistics, the transaction volume of commercial housing in Suzhou, including residential, office, commercial, etc., reached a peak in 2020. Since 2022, affected by factors such as declining income and rising unemployment, housing prices have started to plummet. According to tracking by the Shell Search app, in February 2025, more than 64,000 second-hand houses listed were sold at reduced prices, reflecting that landlords are eager to sell. The Shangrui Pavilion community, located in Suzhou High-Tech Zone, is a Shangzi series high-end residential building jointly developed by Vanke and Sugao New Group. 2 years ago, a 130 square meter house could be sold for 5.9 million yuan, but now it has fallen to about 3.5 million yuan, nearly halved. Mr. Guo, who lives in the high-tech zone, said that the actual decline in local housing prices far exceeded the official data. Mr. Guo, a resident of Suzhou high-tech zone, it has fallen by more than 60%. Even where I live, it was about 35,000 yuan per square meter. Now it is less than 15,000 yuan, and no one wants it for 10,000 yuan. Suzhou is known as a strong second-tier and new first-tier city, a strong manufacturing city, and its foreign trade exports were once second only to Shenzhen. GDP was also close to Guangzhou, ranking among the top 4 in the country. In recent years, with many foreign-funded enterprises such as Samsung, Sony, and Philips moving to Vietnam, private enterprises can no longer hold on. Mr. Guo, a resident of Suzhou High-Tech Zone, both districts in Suzhou rely on foreign companies. Kunshan relies on Taiwan, and the new district relies on Japan. Now the companies from these two countries have left. If a large company leaves, dozens of small companies will go bankrupt. Mr. Guo. So this situation is very serious. It is almost completely different from before. So the housing prices and other things can't be maintained at all. The economic downturn has caused people to have no money in their hands. It is difficult to even make a living, let alone buy a house. Mr. Guo. Whether it is the immigrants or the so-called white-collar workers from the past, some are running away and some are leaving. Anyway, it is not comparable to the past. The main reason is that people have no money. Mr. Yu, a real estate practitioner, believes that the Suzhou real estate market is seriously polarized, with some rising and some falling. Mr. Yu, a real estate insider, said, "Not only are prices of good houses not falling, they are even rising slightly. In our 6 districts and 4 counties, some are still falling, while prices in others are relatively stable. There will still be many houses, and prices will continue to fall. Faced with the current market trend, both buyers and sellers may need to be more cautious."
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.